This is the Celtfather, Marc Gunn, and I want to talk about my new Celtic Halloween EP. But before I get to that, I do want to let you know that the Pub Songs podcast has a brand new episode of Halloween pub songs that is now online. Head on over to pubsong.net. And on Thursday, the Celtic Halloween special of the Irish and Celtic Music podcast comes out. Both of those are absolutely free to listen to, free to download, free to share. And you can also find other Celtic Halloween specials through those two podcasts. So go check those out if you get a chance. But today I have a brand new EP. It is called Celtic Halloween EP. Obviously there are 4 tracks on the album. The music is just me and my auto harp. And it's only exclusively available over on Patreon, but I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the songs because I'm quite proud of how this all came together and how it came out. This is dedicated, of course, to Halloween and Celtic style. At least 3 out of the 4 tracks are fairly Celtic in feel. But, it really struck me, what is it about Celtic, or Halloween rather, that is so interesting? Halloween is based on an old Samhain tradition. Samhain is the Celtic festival that took place on the 31st of October, and basically it marked the period between the harvest and the winter seasons. And obviously that's where the thin veil drops, and then ghosts and goblins and fairies, banshees, all could cross easily from the Fey world into our world, is the whole basic idea. But Halloween itself is not a Celtic holiday. In fact, it really is an American holiday. It's based, yes, on Samhain, this great Celtic holiday, but it's evolved a lot since then. Now, of course, when you think of Halloween, when I think of Halloween, I think of murder, ghosts, and goblins, and death, and of course pumpkins, and and Charlie Brown, and the great pumpkin Charlie Brown, and the new traditions that we have developed over the years, trick or treating. Which is it's all changed over the years, and I'm not going to say one way or the other if it's better or worse. I think it's awesome. They're both fantastic. But my album, when I put it together, my goal was to capture a little bit of Halloween tradition, as well as the Celtic aspect of songwriting that I have been doing. And I've written a number of what I think of are great Halloween songs. I have an album called Happy Songs of Death, which I think is a good Halloween album in itself. But this is something a little bit different. The first track on the album is called I'll Drink From Dusk Till Dawn, and I've recorded it a few times over the years. The first one was on Songs of Ireland by the Brobdingnagian Bards. The second one was on Happy Songs of Death, and it is a ghost story. It's my first original ghost story. I wrote it in 2001, and I was trying to write a good drinking song and a ghost story, a good folk song, and I think I did a good job at doing that. Now, playing it, I've played it live for many years, and it's never, in my mind, it has never captured the true feeling. It's never gone over as well as I felt it should. It's got this great chorus. It's a good story, a good folk story, but yet it still hasn't caught on. So I would love it one day if I can get someone else to record it and some other people to record it, because I think someone could really do well with this song at some point in the future. But for now, I decided to go ahead and re-record it myself. Only I decided to change the key. I normally play it in G, and this version is in B flat, which gives it a different feel, and part of which I think is when I play it in G, through the auto harp it sounds better because you can catch those low notes, but when you're singing it, my voice is also pretty low, and that makes it difficult, I think, to hear. So I attribute a little bit of its lack of success due to that. But I still, like I said, I still feel it would go great. The recording here is a fun fun version, and I think you'll enjoy it when you get down to hearing it. The next song I have on the track is called Won't You Come With Me. It's another song that I wrote. It was inspired originally by the Kingston Trio. They have a murder ballad called Tom Dooley. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley. Hang down your head and cry. I wanted to write a murder ballad too. And so that's what I did. I sat down and I worked a little bit of lilting into it. And Won't You Come With Me? It's a fun song to sing. Of course, I was also aiming for the whole idea of a happy song of death. And this one really caught that. And it tells the story of a sailor who leaves his ship to, get a little action from a woman. Only things go backwards. Now, originally, this again, like I said, is a murder ballad. Now, as I point out in the song, there are only two characters in this song. That means one of them is going to die in the song. Originally, when I wrote it, I was trying to write a traditional style murder ballad. And sad as that may be, that was originally with a man killing a woman. That did not go over well when I first released it. I sent it out to my mailing list, a version, and I had one person who was horrified by it and came back and told me so and said she would never listen to my music ever again. And I don't entirely blame her. I mean, it's a pretty gruesome song, especially because it's sung in the first person. So it sounds like I'm murdering someone. That's the reason I did end up changing it when I put it on Happy Songs of Death as well. I changed it with singing from that I'm still singing in first person, but the person who's being murdered is me as well, which also adds a comedic aspect. So I think it worked out for the comedy aspect, doing the last line. I took her gently in my arms, our bodies rolling in the sand. When she pulled the knife out of my side, my body stopped lurching at last, which adds it totally adds a comedic feel to the whole song, and I think killing myself off it works better on many levels. The third song is probably one of the first versions I'd written, folk ballads that I have written that I was really, really proud of, and it's called O'er the Way. I think it was originally released on Marked by Great Size by the Brobdingnagian and Bards. And it may have been re-released on Brobdingnagian and Fairy Tales. I know there's an instrumental version on Songs of the Muse, but it's another one of these beautiful love stories of murder, and it's about a man who's riding to see his true love, only to get jacked by some highwaymen, and when he's as they ultimately end up killing him, the highwaymen head home to their house and walk into their home and go into the back, and there's the highwayman's daughter, and she's dead, with the same marks of how the person that they killed died. So basically, they're united by true love, and so when the highwayman kills this man, his true love dies at the same time. Which to me, I mean, that fourth verse, when I come to it, it gives me chills every time I sing it. But it's again, I think it came off as a good story. It might be a little bit. There's parts that I feel like, to me, when I'm singing it, I could seem a little confusing, but I still have always loved it. What I mean by confusing is because, well, a fire burned inside, and he beat the brigand thrice. Okay, technically speaking, that should be easy enough to understand, he being the man who just got jacked. But I don't know, there's a few little bits like that, but nevertheless, I've had quite a few people who've come up to me and said, oh my gosh, I love this song. Where did you learn this song? Because it's a great, I love this Irish song, man. And then I tell them it was written by yours truly, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. And I concur. I'm quite proud of it. I think it's a gorgeous song. The final song on the EP is Witch Doctor by Ross Bagdasarian, a.k.a. David Seville. Yes, Alvin and the Chipmunks. And before he... I don't know if this was before. I think this was before the whole Alvin and the Chipmunks phenomena hit. I think it was shortly afterwards he published the Alvin and the Chipmunks Christmas song. But in this one, he was already using his pitch alterations to get the sound of the ooh ee ooh ah ah. And now I think I had this on a 45 that my mother gave me. She was part of the Columbia Record Club back in the late 50s, and she had this awesome tube record player, these tubes that spun, and the album, the vinyl record would drop. Before they called it the vinyl record, the album would drop, and you could listen to multiple songs. And I would stack up a whole bunch of 45s and play. This one actually wasn't my favorite. My actual favorite was "Bird on My Head," but this one has become one of my favorites over the years. I put this on Kenzie's playlist years ago when she was born, and we were taking her off to driving around town. I would have this playing because I love the song. And so I finally, a few years back, I decided to perform it as a closing song at Gen Con, and it was a great hit. I blew people away. I felt like in it, and it's done really well. So I decided I wanted to record it, but I decided also to put it exclusively on this album. And thus it is. So that is my Celtic Halloween EP, and I gotta say I'm very pleased with it. Now, again, the EP at present is exclusively available to my patrons over on Patreon. Now, why would I do that? Why not release it to the general public? And I may eventually. I don't know. I've mentioned this before, is that the music business is changing. People are buying fewer CDs, so I'm definitely not going to put this out as a CD. But, do I make it available, sell it as a digital download, either internationally or on over on Bandcamp, which I hope to build up over the next few months and such, put all my albums up over there. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I love creating music and having patrons, people who want to hear me continue to create music, means a lot, and that's why I started my Patreon account. It's an easy way to manage that. It has a great site, I feel, and set up. I use it, sponsor my own patrons as well, and it works out really well. And so that's one of the reasons why I decided to do it. But what I really want to do is I want to offer some super special things to my patrons. And thus, I decided to put this together again, exclusively for the patrons. So if you want to hear it, you can go become a patron. And I know that's, or actually, I think you can also listen in the latest Pub Songs podcast. I will play some of the stuff in some podcast episodes. And I know in the latest Halloween Pub Songs show, I do have a performance of O'er the Way from this album. Exclusively from this album, so you can get a sample of what kind of music will be on this EP, and that's the way you can hear it for now. Again, patronage doesn't have to be expensive. That's the reason I removed all the different levels over on Patreon. Now you can become a patron for just $1 per month, which is nothing for you, and for most people at least. Maybe it is something for you, but if you can't do that, that's fine too. But it's the best way to support my music is by becoming a patron. If it's $1, $10, $100, whatever, it's awesome. And right now, I think we're about $43, I think, away from my next milestone, which is going to get another EP of Firefly drinking songs. So if you'd like to become a patron, head on over to marcgunn.net. If you enjoy this podcast, then you can become a patron or just support me over at Celtfather.com. And I'm sure there's other news to share, but you can like and share this with your friends. That would be a great way to support this podcast if you don't want to spend any money. So that's great too. My goal here is to entertain you, provide you good music, fun music, and bring a little bit of happiness and joy into each other's lives. So thank you so much for your support. I will talk to you later. Sláinte.